So jumping into it, right? I just maybe let's start with the introduction. Baba, if you can introduce yourself again, just for just for sake, if I add this in the audience, that'd be great, and then we can start talking about the things that I had listed out.
Awesome. So hey everyone, I'm Rosé Baba Ganoush. I'm a software engineer. I'm the lead developer in the Eave AI team. I have a marketing background, so I think that helps me when building products, knowing more what users want. And I'm just really passionate about building community-centric products in addition to using community-centric products.
All right, and then for what you guys are doing, right? For Eave AI, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the business? I know we've pivoted a few times. Like what are we working on today? Like what's the final form as it is that you guys are working on right now?
The final form as it is basically all about data. We believe there's no AI without data, and that's basically the philosophy we're building upon. So we're currently focused on building products which we use as use cases to showcase builders in the space what you can build with proper data sets. I think within the Web3 space, there are a lot of builders, and that's an amazing thing. So we just want to showcase people what they can build. And then with parties like Akash and more open source models being available to the public, we of course see people building more products. However, we see a lot of products failing because they don't have enough data. So that's our final pivot. So building on the one hand products to show people, hey, what can you do with our data? So this is then a data hub with spaces data, a chat agent or autonomous agents built on our data, and then also making our in-house pipelines available to the public for them to use. So this will be data miners on process data sets and process data sets, and also synthesized data. Ilya from OpenAI mentioned, of course, that data is the fossil fuel of AI. And we're not going on the electric car road, but we're rather generating new data by synthesizing data. So we also give like the smaller players in the space the chance to compete with the big fish who own the big data sets. So yeah, all about data, making data accessible, and just encouraging people to build products with this. Oh, sorry, you're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, just to re-encapsulate what you said. So basically, the pivot is all around data. And yes, I definitely heard about that being a frontier, a roadblock, so to speak. If agents don't have good data, then you can't really, there's not really a lot to do to go on. So the pivot is to how encouraging others to use the data and basically package it in a way that you can serve it. Is it because I'm familiar in this way of the data being packaged and served to other LLMs and agents? Is this the same path? Don't forget that I'm not as technical as you are, so.
Yeah, basically, so we're building public APIs for people to use. So if, for example, conversations in a specific domain about market analysis, trading. So whenever people want to train their agents based on this domain, they can just fetch this data. Or if they want to mine their own data, they'll be able to use our marketplace where we're offering these miners. So really like giving these plugins, these tool sets that people then can use within their products. Also, a lot of these agents that you see, these autonomous agents, they're built in a way that they have, you can give them access to a tool set and third-party APIs for data retrieval. So within the conversations they have on the web, these autonomous agents, they can do data retrieval via these third-party APIs. So the agents just become smarter, can do more, and this is what we're offering.
I see. And so it sounds very broad, right? Like the idea of data. When you guys first started, I kind of got used to the idea that you guys were only focusing on like X spaces data and kind of collecting, and even then specifically for the crypto industry specifically, right? So it's very like a tight, small subset. When you talk about data in such a expansive format, it sounds very more broader and more general. Can you talk a little bit about is there any focus on that data, or is it as broad as I think it is at the moment?
Thank you for mentioning that. I think because we operate in the crypto space so much, sometimes I think this is the whole world. But no, the data that we're processing is niche down to crypto data, and then within this, we have of course various platforms. So we started out focusing purely on Twitter Spaces data, hours of data, people talking, but nobody doing anything with this, all conversation lost. But now we're expanding. So YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, General X, just to get more insight within the space and basically tap into what everyone is saying.
Right. Wow. So it's expanding far beyond just that small niche now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So still within the Web3 and crypto space, but now we got our use case down. Like, hey, this is something we can build upon. We're expanding to more data sources, so to say.
Right, but still within, okay, so expanding more data sources, but within the same Web3 niche. Is that the idea?
Yeah, exactly.
And so this is the way that I can, so I'm now imagining, speculating. So we're talking about like hooking up like AI, XBT, or a similar trading bot with this detail so that they can provide better information to inform like in the whole DAI5 space. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's exactly the idea. And the goal is to build a tool set and marketplace that people have total freedom in which part of our offering they want to use. If it's either unprocessed data, so they can do their own analysis on this based on their own trading strategies, for example, or that they want more plug and play data, like, hey, this person said this, that person said that. A lot of people are currently talking about this, so this is how I'm going to position my agent. That's correct.
Okay. Okay, I understand. So now you're processing a lot more data resources and things like that. So when we first talked, there was a issue of bandwidth, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Because a lot of the data that you're processing is very heavy, right? In terms of that, the need for tokens to kind of process it and whatnot. And I think you started with Llama 3, right? With the 405B.
yeah,
And that was a huge model. And then over time, you've upgraded, right? As Akash added more and more models down to like a smaller 70B, and then I don't know if you are using DeepSeek yet, but the idea is that, can you talk a little bit about your like the process of that, right? Like of getting those upgrades, right? Because obviously when you first started, there was no smaller, like the best one was like a huge 405B model. So are any of these upgrades going into affecting that you can now put in more data resources? Do you understand the question I'm asking? Like,
yeah.
is it from the savings of these models, these upgrades that come over time through the open source pipeline? Are you guys finding that now that's why you have like the freedom to add more sources so that you can basically max out the use of your GPUs?
Yeah, this is exactly what is happening. For first, we started with the 405 model, and we ran into issues like fairly quick. So we took it up with you guys, always great support. And you guys basically told us like, hey, maybe it's a good idea, instead of just trying to max out the model, see where you can already improve on the pipeline, on your own data pipeline side. So this is then what we did. See like, hey, how can we adjust our pipeline in a way that we don't need such a big model, and we can use a smaller model, so we can handle more data. So this is what we've been doing ever since. We then switched to the 70B parameter model. We're now testing with DeepSeek, and also with smaller models like Quen Turbo, so we can do like really quick and efficient, cost-efficient data labeling tests, so to say. So we broke up our pipeline into more smaller steps, so we could leverage these smaller, more efficient models, less heavy, to process more data and thus having a better end product.
Right. So okay. So at this point, would you say that you're maxing out the GPUs that you're using right now, or is there still juice to squeeze there, in your opinion?
Yeah, currently we're maxing them out. So how it basically goes, we max them out, we improve. We max them out, we improve. We max them out, we improve. Because with time, of course, and these new models coming out, sometimes it doesn't make too much sense for us to, let's say it makes more sense for us to go with what we currently have, test the limits, and when we hit the limits at that moment, check, hey, which new models are available? How can we optimize? And then scale up again and do this over and over again. Because what we've seen in the past is that we would do a lot of improvements, spend weeks on improving, making stuff more efficient, and then a new model coming out, and basically just the weeks of work wouldn't really have been necessary, so to say. So yeah, that's the approach we're currently doing. So today I was, for example, testing with Quen, and then now I see, hey, like if we would use one of the racks you guys dedicated to us purely for Quen, we could do a lot more pre-processing of data before we feed it into the larger models. Select in what do we feed to the larger models, so we get all the junk out before.
Right. Well, you mentioned the rack, so let's let's ask that question, which is how is so in my look of it, it's that Akash is powering the data hub, right? EVAI's data hub. Can you talk a little bit about more in terms of the technical details on what is actually being powered? Like how is EVA actually using Akash? Because you've got agents, that could be using model inference. You've got, people deploying their, LLMs. How is EVAI using Akash?
So EVAI is using the current product that we have. The data hub is using the server X you guys provided for us. So we have our own dedicated usage of these models. We're using it by processing the transcripts that we generate with third-party transcribers to generate insights for the end user on the front end. That's how we are using Akash. So from transcript to final product on the data. What happens in between there is sentiment analysis, project identification, and much more, but that's what we are using Akash for. So dedicated purely to powering the data hub.
So basically, if I may translate that, distill that even further, it's basically dedicated deployments of models that you then use to process the data. Is that correct?
That's correct. And then the data hub, of course, is publicly free, available to everyone on the internet to go and get their insights from. So we are just using it for that. We thought that would as well be the most fair solution to use it for our publicly available products.
Right. Okay. And then I guess next question I have for you is regarding so the purpose that you're using Akash now has changed over time, obviously, as you guys have found the best chances at product market fit, right? But at this day and age, I know that you guys have already established Akash as your infrastructure provider, right? But taking it back, do you have I guess the question is that, have you shopped around before? Have you looked at what else is out there? Is there something particular that keeps you with Akash? Other than the racks, right? So like, because you can get racks anywhere, right? Like that's the idea. So I got a question for you in terms on a technical aspect. Like, is there anything that Akash has that makes it something that you're happy to work with, and why you might not be looking elsewhere, or and the tail end of the question is, what would what would you want to see? You know what I mean? And where, like, is there other places out there that provide more, right? And this is just more from a builder's perspective. What I'm looking for is your opinions of the marketplace. Obviously, nobody's perfect. We can all do better, but in terms of the core strengths and competencies, like, what is it about Akash that, that keeps you guys here, I guess, is a question. Is there anything technical that does this? Any advantages that is afforded to you by sticking around with Akash?
Yeah, I think on the non-technical side, it was just love at first sight. I think
Okay.
using the platform, the community around it. But on the technical side, I think the platform is just engineered really good. You guys are doing great efforts on keeping the model supply high. Deploying models is easy. The templates are there. Support is good. So I would prefer it to a general cloud provider. And as well, the competitive pricing that you guys provide on GPUs, I don't think can be found elsewhere. So the competitive pricing in combination with the ease of use of the marketplace, that together alone, plus the uptime of the providers, should be enough to convince anyone to switch over.
Right. So that might have been a future question, like, how would you pitch it? So I guess those are the key parts for you. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about reliability. So you said the uptime's been pretty good, because I've only, because I've talked to a few other people,
Yeah.
and another group has said that, oh, like, that was one of their, like, things that Akash can improve upon is the GPU provider reliability, because I think I don't know if you were affected, but one of the providers had to, like, do a restart and whatnot, and that caused, like, some disruption for the day. Like, little growing pains like that for decentralized the infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
But have you experienced anything like that in your use?
Yeah, we have experienced that our deployment was just gone at one moment, and then we had to redeploy, but the same cards weren't available. So this is like this is I think for me this is something that comes with working like with products that are innovating. Like, you should expect these kind of small pains to occur. Like, you're using a decentralized cloud provider. It's permissionless. Yeah, of course, some providers are going to have issues. So, take that into account beforehand. Also, something we learned, for example, was like, hey, we got kicked off our deployment. We wanted to redeploy, but the same cards weren't available. Hey, what do we do now? Now the costs are up ×4. So I think it's maybe growing pains. I don't know. It's not something that would scare me off. I rather rather be on board quick and early, and see a product like this evolving than scare away and wait until it's perfect. Because I've had the same issues with, for example, a DigitalOcean, where our database just didn't work and you had to wait 24 hours for support. Like, it's something that happens everywhere. But with the community support and the team support from Akash, I found it less
Disruptive,
big,
basically.
yeah, less disruptive. There's always help. There's always help, and that's, I think, the biggest pain in the ass. Let's say your cloud provider, Azure, AWS, DigitalOcean, has some kind of problems. To get it resolved, first you go talk to customer support. Hey, we create a ticket, but here it's more direct feedback still. So I think that evens it out.
Right. Okay. And And then for you, since you've been here since the beginning, I think you guys started from the top of the funnel down to the final end, I would feel. So,
Yeah,
and when I say top of the funnel, I mean you started with the chat API to see how that was going, and then you know, and then you guys maxed that out, outgrew that, you know. And I remember we were talking about it, and you're like, "Oh man, I'm feeling kind of like I don't want people to know about this, you know, because it's such a good service. You know, what if I max it all out, right?" And it's funny because when you said that, I was like, "Oh yeah, it's meant to, you know, you'll grow with it, you know." But then you guys did max it out quite fast, right? And then so now then you got down to needing your own GPUs and whatnot, and probably even more, right, as you guys expand out and basically kind of get comfortable with your data hub and have it expand to suck up more and more information, right?
yeah.
How do you feel about the I guess about the rolled up, I guess. How do you feel about the scaling, you know, the funnel itself? You know, like was it effective for you in your opinion to get you in with the API and then upgrade you up, or you know, did you find some growing pains? Did you find a lot of limitations from the get-go? You know, like what do you feel about that process?
I think it's an amazing funnel. Like the feeling I had when I found out about the free chat API, I was like, hey, I found gold. Uh, that was like the first feeling I had, like, hey, how is this even possible? We just had a bill every month at OpenAI for a few $1,000s, and now there's a product where I can just use it for free. Then we found out, of course, hey, we had to grow with the product, so try out our own deployments. You guys helped us out with that, set up some dedicated racks. So overall, I don't think we had any growing pains. Also
Mm,
now, like what I mentioned before, us setting up the smaller models, having gone through from beginning to end, it's really easy for me now to say, hey, we just need this card. We can set up a deployment, and we're ready to go, basically. So by going through this process, even when building out new products or smaller features that might not need a big infrastructure, there's always like a place in the, let's say, Akash life cycle, so to say, where you can just start again with this new feature or product and grow with it. So I think it's a real nice ecosystem that you guys have built.
I appreciate that. You know, and of course I'll pass that along to the higher ups that are working on this, right? But so I guess I guess it goes without saying, but you know, I'll ask anyway. So you know, another thing that we want to know is, you know, if you were to recommend this, you know, now that you've graduating all the way through, in terms of that funnel, you know, would you recommend it to other people, right? And then in what ways, you know, and I said I already asked this question, but in what ways do you recommend, like what are the pitching points do you feel Akash should really step on when it comes to talking to developers like yourself and trying to get you guys to, you know, at least, you know, get your foot in and try it out for the first time?
Yeah. Um, I would say ease of use, availability, pricing, and then community. Those I think would be the four words I would use to try and
Mhm.
convince someone to use Akash, and then community, because the community around Akash is just really nice. All the builders connecting, that's great, and that always feels like an extra for me.
Mhm. Okay, that's fair enough. And then I guess the final question I have is that, you know, like we were discussing about the plans on how you guys would use and expand your use of the GPUs. Do you feel that you guys are good within the racks that you guys have today, or do you feel like that you see yourself expanding more upon that? I know in the future we want to have unlimited, right? But I'm talking about for like the short term. Like, do you feel, because when we first talking about giving you guys the racks, it was you guys were max even though at the racks that we gave you, right? Like how, and we were talking about, you know, perhaps getting more efficient, or like the new models coming out are getting more efficient, you know. What do you feel in terms of your capacity right now?
Yeah, so in terms currently, we are maxing out the racks for users for the data hub, and we are
Mhm,
scaling up our creator pool. So we're instead of following hundreds of creators, we're gonna follow thousands of creators.
mhm,
So in terms of we are currently maxed out, but I think it would be more efficient for us to first look internally on, hey, how can we make our data pipeline more efficient, maybe break steps into smaller tasks, use more lightweight models so we can have higher throughput. Um, but then, yeah, when you have that down again, then you would like to scale up, of course. Maybe for the other products, so for the data miners, etc. I think more, maybe not the racks. I think for us as Eve, something that we are really interested in is like decentralized data storage and decentralized compute when we are offering these data miners and data processing and synthesized data. So more for the new products that we are rolling out um,
mhm.
to keep that decentralized as well.
I see. So basically, if I may reinterpret that, so what you have right now is, you think that you can work within those constraints, and then any new deployments, in terms of new products and whatnot, would probably need more infrastructure to support that. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's 100% correct.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. All right. And then, okay. So then, I mean, I think that really concludes a lot of the questions that I have for you. We'll move forward from here. Okay.